Hey, what's happening? It's Green Thumb. For you guys who've been here before, thanks for coming back. For you guys who've never checked out my channel, thanks for checking my stuff out. So we're in the greenhouse, right? See plastic here. And I've been telling you guys for a while that I'm going to be putting trellis netting in here along this wall. And I'm going to hang it from T-posts. And then I'm going to train the tomatoes up, and I'm going to train them to grow horizontally across the wall, espalier style. So that's the same sort of deal. What they used to do in castles is when they grew fruit trees in castles, they didn't kind of let them grow and expand out because they would get in the way and stuff. What they did is they trained them to grow along the walls, and they trained the branches to be stuck to the wall, and then they would just harvest fruit off of it. So this is what we're going to do with the tomatoes. So I've got two 5-gallon buckets of sand. It's hydro sand. I got it from work. I made a deal with a super awesome scale lady that I know, and I traded her a cup of coffee for about, give or take, 140 pounds of sand. So if you ever need to do something with construction, guys, coffee is the lubricant of the industry. I literally got, I don't even know what this sand is worth, but it cost me a cup of coffee and it enabled me to do this project. So what I've done is I put the lids back on the 5-gallon buckets. They had hydraulic fluid in them, and I've kept the spout sticking out the top, and I put the T-posts in there to stabilize them. I'm using 7-foot T-posts, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to string the trellis netting from one side to across to the other, and I'm going to attach it with zip ties, and then that way I'm going to be able to just train the tomatoes up there. I'm going to then train the suckers out horizontally and allow the fruit set to happen on the suckers. And if you guys know me and you follow my channel, you know that I never ever do this in the summertime. But the reason I'm doing it in here is because I want these tomato plants to put off as much fruit as I can in a healthy manner until springtime, until I tear the greenhouse down, or however that works, so they hit the ceiling, and then I'll just pinch the tops, and then it'll allow the rest of the fruit to grow. So I figured I'd take you guys on this journey with me and see where it ends up. Okay, let's do this. So you guys can see here, that's the far corner, right? Who's always got that yellow ugly wall. There's the 5-gallon bucket. I've moved a bunch of plants over, and then I've had to move some out of the greenhouse so I've got room to work. Okay, so the T-post goes all the way up to the ceiling, and I've aligned the top of the T-post underneath one of the ceiling joists. And when this is all said and done, I'll get up there and I'll just tie it off to that ceiling joist with a piece of baling twine, so it just stabilizes it. But each one of these buckets weighs 60-70 pounds. And in about a week or so, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put about a gallon of water in each one of these buckets to give it the extra weight. So I'm going to go get the trellis netting and we'll start setting this up. So when you're working with trellis netting, the easiest thing to do is start at the top, okay? Put your first cable tie or your first zip tie in the very top corner, okay? So I've already done that. And they're all in squares. These are 5x5 squares, and it's 5 feet long. I think this is the 5 foot, the 5 foot or the 6 foot. And then what you do is you attach one side all the way down of your trellis netting, and then you go over to the other side, and then you can stretch it tight. You don't want to do the top here and the top on the other side because it's going to make it a lot harder. So on your T-posts, for you guys who don't work with T-posts often, on your T-posts, you have spacings for all of your holes, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm just going to start cable tying or zip tying, whatever you want to call it, to all of these poles or all of the holes on the post, and I'm going to work my way down. So we're using these 8-inch zip ties, okay? 8-inch zip ties. So we're just gonna Find the right hole that kind of corresponds to where you want to do it. And then you just cable tie through the hole, zip it off, nice and tight, and then go to the next one. And since they're squares, it gives you a nice straight edge to work with. Okay, so that's for this part. For this part, that's all we're going to do. We're going to work our way down. So I'll get the rest of this done, and then we'll switch over to the other side. And then we're going to go to that T-post over there. All right, so you see, we've got from the top all the way down to the bottom hole, because normally you would hammer these into the ground so they don't put holes right down near the bottom. So we put them all the way down as low as we could go. Now we're just going to turn this camera around. We're going to do the other side. So we're back at the other side. So what we're going to do is I'm pulling the top tight across, and I'm going to figure out where it fits the best. And of course I left my zip ties over there. I'm just going to run over here and grab those. So there's lots left on this piece of trellis netting. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'll just roll it up into a ball, because it's already partially rolled into a ball from last summer. So I'll just roll it up into a ball, and then we'll just tie it off so it'll be nice and clean. So we'll go to the top hole, top section of your trellis netting, top square, right in the corner. Right. And I'll probably end up, you know what to do? Hang that there. I'm just going to hang some of this trellis netting right off the top of the ceiling too, and it'll help support the top. It'll stop the sag. So then we find the next hole down where we want to go. Pull it nice and tight. Run it through and tie it off. And trellis netting is nice and stretchy, so you don't have to worry about it too much. And it's really good for working outside. The sun doesn't beat it up too bad. You can use it for a couple of seasons. This one I'm using right now, I grew tomatoes on last summer. So we're just going to keep working our way down. Nothing to it. Just takes a bit of time, but once it's set up, it's a permanent installation until I take the greenhouse down. So that rat's nest is what's at the ceiling. We've got this side tied down like that. And this is just the extra trellis netting. So we've got it all zip tied. Sorry for the jumpy camera work there. See, so we've got them zip tied all the way up. And then I'm just going to attach it to the ceiling. And then it's going to hold it up, and then we are going to move all of these gorgeous tomato plants. Look at, see, got flowers. We've even got a couple of little tomatoes growing. And then once I get this trellis netting all sorted out, we're going to push the tomatoes back, and then we can start training them up this trellis netting. That's all there is for the install. So I've put in a couple of pieces for it to hang from. Getting caught up on all the plants here. It's in hooks, and I've got some hooks in here, so it's going to stop all the downward sag. See, it's nice and tight. When you put this stuff up, you want it tight, because when all these beautiful tomatoes, check that out. When you have all of these beautiful tomatoes growing on here, you don't want this thing to sag, okay? So you want that nice and tight. So let's start putting these tomato plants back. Got the tomato plants back. So I still have this one at my feet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. I may just put it against the back wall and just grow them straight up big long T-posts or something. We're going to work on that. But I think if I put 4 plants against that back, or 4 pots of plants against that back wall, it's just going to be way too much, because there's 6 tomato plants growing back there, because there's 2 plants in each pot. So this one is a brandywine and the other 2 pots are Tommy Toes. And then this is a brandywine as well. It's got more of a tomato type, or a potato leaf on it. And yes, they're a little curly. I'm still dealing with fungus gnats, but that's okay because I've already watered them once. And in that bucket, or in that tote right there, is a whole bunch more water with another mosquito puck in it. So we're going to do that after this. So that's next step, because I wanted to be able to move these while the pots were really light and not splash water all over the place. So now that they're where they're going to live, I'm going to water them some more with that BT mosquito puck stuff, or mosquito dunks, and away we go. So I'm going to shut this video off here because I'm going to film the next one where I show you guys how I'm going to train these plants now onto this trellis netting. So wait for the next video to come out. I'm going to shut this off and I'm going to reset and I'm going to start filming for the next video. All right, guys. So if you haven't subscribed already, hit that little subscription button and the notification bell to stay up to date so you guys can watch all the beautiful fruit that we're going to grow in here. We've got basil and dill, and there's some Swiss chard out there. I had to move some plants out of the greenhouse. There wasn't even enough room in here. We've got kale down there, another zucchini. We've got peppers growing. Got all kinds of stuff. So if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. That'd be awesome. And follow along. Okay, guys. Love y'all. Grow good food. See ya.